Hey folks, Jim Kress here again with City on the Take for our second webcast, recapping the Bears' 28-20 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. Now the Bears trailed by 17 points at one point in this game, and they went into the half trailing 20-7. Jay Cutler came out just firing bullets in the second half. He threw for 4 touchdowns on 176 yards and completed 67% of his passes, going 23 for 34. He connected with his best buddy, Brandon Marshall, for 3 touchdowns, and then he also connected with Martellus Bennett for another score. The defense actually came up quite big for the Bears. The defense had Colin Kaepernick on his butt, sacking him a few times while also making him give up the ball 4 separate occasions. Jared Allen finally made a big impression for the Bears. He came up with a forced fumble that caused Kaepernick to fumble the ball and give the ball back to the Bears. And Kyle Fuller, the rookie who came in for unfortunately injured Charles Tillman, came up with 2 humongous interceptions that gave the Bears great field position to score. Now Kyle Fuller did come in for Charles Tillman, and it's actually rather sad to see Charles Tillman leave with the exact same right tricep injury that kept him sidelined for the entire year last year. You can follow my link below to find more news on Charles Tillman and what a career he's actually had and what a human being he's been for the Bears and the NFL. Matt Forte struggled for the Bears, unfortunately, and unfortunately for me, who was also a fantasy owner of him. I'll take the victory for the Bears either way, but Forte couldn't really get the ball going, seeing as the Bears kept running that same halfback draw, that halfback rush right up the middle, and it wasn't coming to any avail. Cutler tried to fire to him a couple times on some screens, but the 49ers defense sniffed that out pretty quickly. Now for the Bears defense, it was also worth noting that Chris Conte also came up with an actual rather remarkable interception for him, but he did injure himself and his shoulder on the play. Now I know a lot of fans aren't big fans of Chris Conte, but he is depth at safety, and that depth at safety and the defense overall is starting to run very thin. The Bears had 5 players leave the game with injuries last night in San Francisco, and that adds to the already amount of Bears that were playing injured, like Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall last night. Now Brandon Marshall did have that ankle injury, but Jeffrey had that hamstring injury, and you could tell he was very slow getting out of the gate, and he only had 3 receptions in the game. Josh Bellamy was signed from the practice squad. The former Louisville prospect or product came to the Bears, and he had 1 pass that was intended for him. It fell incomplete, but that is a player to be looking out for the Bears. Santonio Holmes did have 2 receptions for 20 yards and did move the chains a couple times. The veteran receiver came in clutch on those 2 receptions, giving first downs to the Bears both times. In other news around the NFC North, the Lions were handled by the other Cats, the Panthers, in Carolina 24-7. The Minnesota Vikings were dealt with pretty easily against New England. They lost 30-7 and couldn't get much offense going. And meanwhile, the Packers, who played the Jets, were down 21-3 at one point, but came back and won against the Jets. Now the Jets are the opponents of the Bears next week for Monday Night Football, and if the Bears can come out with the same attack that they came out against the San Francisco 49ers in the second half, the Bears will have a rather successful game. The Bears did outscore the 49ers 21-3 in the second half of the game last night, and if the Bears keep that same attack, throwing the ball down the field, mixing it up on offense, while still applying a lot of pressure from the defense on the opposing offense, their success will go through the roof. Now with second-year quarterback and struggling quarterback Geno Smith, the Jets aren't as sure-handed as Colin Kaepernick, given that he isn't as much of a veteran either, but he does have more experience than Geno Smith. Now Geno Smith is known to throw the ball up and commit a lot of cardinal sins as quarterback, so if the Bears can get Willie Young, Jared Allen, and other rushers into the backfield, the Bears should have another great game. With other news around the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings reactivated running back Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson was, of course, dealing with the child abuse case that was happening to him last week, which kept him out of the game against New England this week. The Carolina Panthers also deactivated Greg Hardy, who was also dealing with a domestic abuse case. He was out of the game against the Detroit Lions this last week. No word has been released on whether he will be playing next week. And also Ray Rice is appealing his suspension and the ruling against him for his domestic abuse case. For all this and more, please follow @CityOnTheTake or go to cityontheTake.com to read more articles, updates, and info. You can also follow me @JimKress Jr. for more sports information, and if you want to chat, I'm always free. Thank you again. Have a good day.